Asif. I am Professor Lee's PhD student, and I am currently working with PECAS demo model. And today we are going to discuss how you are going to calibrate the Wuhan PECAS model. There are certain steps you have to take care when you need to calibrate the model. And so let's refresh your mind with what is. Those are the contents I'm going to cover. Basic introduction. You already heard about the PECAS. There are many input files, how to calculate those files, the main framework of the PECAS, and we are today going to cover the theory and methodologies we use to calibrate the model, and then at the end we will discuss some the results from calibration. So this is the PECAS main framework. You already checked this one with Professor May. PECAS is actually production and exchange consumption equation system. This is a generalized approach for simulating spatial economic system. PECAS has certain modules. Two are the main basic modules of PECAS. There is activity education module, and another is a space development module. Then two, that is demographic module and the transport module. They are a part of the PECAS system, but you can provide these are external modules, so you can integrate with them. But those are the two major parts of PECAS which make PECAS as their model is the activity education model and the space development model. So do I need to translate or it's okay? I move on. Yeah, because we need to translate, right? So they what are there, so they at least know what are the main modules of the PECAS. We have okay, these are the two main modules. One is activity allocation module and space development. Those two modules make PECAS as a land use module. Another is a transport model. Actually, they are composed of four, but these are making these two modules are making as the PECAS land use module.
我开始啊，他说这个是这个 activity location 的那个模型，然后这个是这个 space development 模型，然后底下还有 transportation 模型，这两个模型加在一起是这个 land use 模型。
Yes.
就这两个加在一起是土地利用模型的主要的部分。
So how much you are going to develop the space are based on the prices from the activity allocation modules. So we signal the price signal you got from the activity allocation module, and based on those prices, the future development is going to be happen how you are going to develop. So those are decisions are based on those prices signals from the module goes to the SDQ.
他说这个空间这个发展 SD 模型里面的一些这个 price。
Yeah, price signals.
Land price.
Yes, prices of different floor space rent prices are those are going to be.
而这些这个模型的输入的一些这个跟价格有关的这个变量，都是从这个 activity location 的模型里输到这个 SD 模型里。
Another thing you need to consider is land use policies. Like certain zones you have limitation in what type of land you are going to develop, right? But some if the zone is only limited to you can only have commercial activities you can develop, or you are not allowed to develop those certain you can restrict the development as well by saying okay you are not going to develop or you cannot develop this type of stuff there, right?
They speak too fast. 就这个就是土地模型里面可能有一些限制，然后就是在作为这个 SD 模型的时候，可能需要做一些考虑。Okay, you speak one sentence. Let's translate. That's too fast.
Okay. Let's I will try to. So this is like this is the current year. So those new things, and then it will forecast for the new year, and this will be feedback to the new year till the area you specify for the model, like maybe 30 years or the 40 years.
他说这个现在是现状模型，它这里面算来这些数据，然后经过这个传输，然后最后会输到那个未来年的期望年的那个模型里面。
So you want to add something?
No.
Okay, we are good to go. So these are the modules we discussed. This is the economic demographic aggregate forecasting model. Like different employment, household, those all categories are you just input the model. This is the economic demographic model which aggregate those stuff there. Another is transport model. Those transport utilities, or you can call it these utilities like congestion time, or those steps are going from this transport model to PECAS. So,
就第一个是那个经济模型，就是这个人口和家庭这部分是从这个第一个模型里面计算的，然后第二个模型就类似于这个 scheme，right？
yes.
就 scheme 一类的是从第二个 transport 模型里面。
Yes, these schemes are generated by the transport model. Those are actually these utilities. Like if you travel between two zones by different modes, you have different utility, right? Like you spend time, it means your time is reduced from, your cost is reduced from your account. That is your this utility of traveling, right? Those this utilities defined by selection of different modes, different commodities. Those are we used to call it this utility, or those these utilities are generated from the transport model, and those are we can call it congested schemes or these utilities from the transport model.
就他说是这个咱一般用那个 scheme 或者这个 congest 就是那个拥挤时间，就这一类的参数都是从这个 transportation model 里面生成的。
So another is space development module, which we already discussed, like how much space you are going to develop is based on how much the prices and those stuff coming from the activity education module. If you want to test different scenarios, like suppose if you are planning to develop certain space there, and you want to see how the different household or different activities react, so you can test different policies using the SD module to see.
不是这个空间模型，就是大概就是说那个土地里面，如果它有一些 activity， 有一些活动或者有一些这个有什么反应，就可能是从这个应该是从这个space development model 里面这个来计算的。
So another one is activity allocation module. Where activities are you are going to allocate, but this activity allocation will use two ways, three levels. That is structure and by allocation structure. We are going to discuss this one in detail into the next slide.
那个这个 A 模型里面就包括这两个部分，一个是这个3层的那个潮式的那个 logic 模型，然后下面是看这个应该是自己看。Organize developing the model yourself. That buying and selling. Organize developing the model yourself.
Yeah, is how your buying and selling is how it happen on exchange location and how it happen and how those buying and.
Is that a logic model?
Yes, of course you will see next PPTs how they are. Okay. So let's move to next one. We SD already defined. So this is 3-level nested used in a module application. Like you can explain this one in more detail.
Okay. So PECAS was being explained. We have the activity totals for whole region first. So first level does is it allocate this total amount of activity into the different zones. It's the first level of the nesting structure.
他说第一层呢，就是在这个模型里面是定义你的这个活动的这个地点 ，activity allocate， 先确定这个地点。
So after you allocate the activity to a zone, so those activities has different, we call it technology options. For households, we can tell it's the lifestyle options. So for example, one household can produce management labor and use apartment buildings for their space. That's one lifestyle they are going to choose. But there are different lifestyles like that. So in this level, activities choosing which of the lifestyle they are going to choose in this zone.
他说在确定这个 location 以后，下一步是在这个一个 zone 里面，然后确定它这个 technical options。technical options 是 is a technical option lifestyle.
Lifestyle for the households, but it's a different technology for the industries to produce the commodities.
Like what type of technology or what type of thing they are using to produce certain commodities. So that's their technology option.
这个应该是在这个 zone 里面怎么产生它不同的这个商品，比如说这个跟这个工业有关的，或者跟农业有关的。然后在这一层，它确定了 zone 以后，然后它选它的这个产生什么样的商品。
Yeah. So then the technology options use and make commodities. The technology option is, for example, agricultural activity. They are using the labor and they're producing the agricultural products. So if you put this into a function, the in the activity totals you have the total amount, but this amount is produced by using some type of commodities, and it's also making some type of commodity, which is agricultural products. So this function, this technology options have different commodities in these technology options. So the third level decides where it take these commodities from. This is the third level. So this is exchange zone selection for these commodities.
第三个这个层定义的是它这些商品，它们是从哪个层来的？ Where are the commodity coming from?
Exchange zones.
就是
These are exchange zones.
就选择它这个商品它来是从哪个小区里边来的。
Activities going to these zones and buy the stuff or sell the commodities. This we call it as exchange zones.
Actually, everything happen at exchange location, right? Things come from here. This is the main place where buying and selling is happen, right? If industry is here, the first people are here, things are happen between, right? Because the commodity, what you produce comes to the main market for selling, right? It's like the exchange location where things are coming for, whether you can buy it or where you sell it. That's called exchange location, where you make decisions.
Sorry, it's so complicated.
I will give you an example. For example, households. You are producing the labor. So you are actually selling the labor to the industries. So, well, industries buying the labor from the households. So, the labor going to the industry locations and sell their labor to the industries. So the exchange location in that case is where the industry are. So that in here, activity is actually selecting which zone. For example, households, they are deciding in here which zone I am going to sell my labor. And for the industries, because there are different activities, industries actually finding here where I am getting the inputs to produce my outputs. So the exchange happening here.
其实有点复杂，就是说，他说，因为他前面确定这个区以后，他知道这个区是家庭还是这个工业。如果是家庭的话，这个底下这个区就确定他在什么地方把他的去出卖他的劳动，就可能他在哪个地方工作，然后去 selling labor 是在这个区确定的。如果上面这个区是工业，比如说是这个工厂或者什么之类的，这底下这个区呢就确定我从哪个区得到了我想要的这个劳动力或者我想买到的东西，是在这个层确定的。
Yeah, here it's very important because here it's where the transport cost is actually going to affect the model, because the activities the commodities actually need to go to this exchange zone, because they need to travel, the labor need to travel to the industrial location, then you have a transport cost. So this transport cost actually going to affect to the whole model in this level. So that's where the transport model is going to affect to the PECAS in this level. That's the integration happen.
因为他说这个就是选那个住家和他在哪个地方卖的那个 labor 和他的这个工厂从哪个地方买他的 labor 决定了这两个纵之间的距离，所以它会产生这个 transportation cost 中间这个交通生成的这个花费，然后在这个 logic 模型里面，它这个花费会一层一层影响到它每一层的这个可能作为 log sum 影响在每一层的选择。
Okay, we can go forward. Okay, this is the one buying and selling allocation. So here is the same strategy, like this is the total production, right? What you produce is at a model, what means the whole area, right? So this is total production are known to the exchange location where buying and exchange location happen, and then our total consumed, because if it is not consumed totally, the model cannot be at equilibrium position, right? So what you produce should be totally consumed. That's if you want the model to be brought to be at equilibrium. So what you produce should be, because here the production is happening, there is exchange location, and with there is the total consumption is happening. But total consumption is how much you produce, right? So there should be like demand and supply system.
I think you can represent to all the people, you can just translate.
Okay.
Most of them can understand.
Did you get that?
No, you say it again. Say it again.
No, no.
Oh, so actually I will explain this in an example. So, for example, households, you are selling the labor, and industries are consuming the labor. So, exchange zone is where the industry are, but industries have a demand for the labor. So, let's say you need $100,000 of labor to produce something in this zone, 100,000 of labor amount, and that means 100,000 of labor needs to come to this zone and sell the labor. So the supply and demand should need to be equal to clear the markets for the labor. So otherwise there is an excess supply of labor or the lack of labor in this zone. So the PECAS actually trying to find out what are the exchange prices which will actually manage the supply and demand, which need to be equal. Supply and demand needs to be equal in this exchange zones. You get that?
Okay, I'm try.
If you have a question, please ask.
我觉得它就是这个里边就是在做一个均衡，就是它在这个前面有这个消费，然后底下有产生，然后它在这个exchange里边可以得到一个价格，然后能够让他们就是需求和供给之间能够达到一个平衡。对。This is production, this is consumption, is kind of a equilibrium.
The total production, this is the labor production. For example, for my example, household produce the labor. This total production here.
对，就是那个家庭产生这个 labor， 产生这个劳动力。
So then the production is coming to the exchange zone.
然后它产生这个劳动力来到这个exchange zone。
And industries are going to use the labor also in this zone.
然后那个工业呢，他们需要那个劳动力，也在这个 zone 去选择他们那个劳动力。
Those two need to be equal.
然后这两个
come to equilibrium.
就这两个这个供给和需求必须在这个 zone 里面达到均衡。
So it's very simple, like where you live and where you go for work. In reality, right? Where you live, that is where the whole resident living, that is total production, right? People, labor, whatever. And the exchange location is where you go for your work, your office place or university where you work. That's very simple. You can explain, right?
就是一个供给和需求的均衡，供给和需求的均衡，就是它这个是供给，然后这个是生产需求，这是家庭的供给，然后他们在这个 zone 里达到均衡，要保证它的这个供给和需求是均衡的。
Okay? Okay, lah. Okay. Just some results from the model convergence. Like we show this model is converging because we run model for like 10, 20, and 30 years. It's up to you how long you want to see in the future. Like you want to see how within the 30 or 20 years how the development is happening. So you can run the model, and it's important that your model converge. It only model converge when your supply and demands, they are equal. Otherwise, as discussed, because if the supply and demand they are not equal, model will not converge and model will crash. So the market should be clear if you want your model to run. Our model you want your model to converge.
Because that's a real world scenario, right? The equilibrium system is where the supply and demand is matching. So in maybe Wuhan, you produce some labor. If there are not that much industry available to consume that labor, there is an excess supply of the labor. So then you don't have an equilibrium system. But PECAS think to have an equilibrium system, the market supply and demand need to be equal. So PECAS model is running by iterations to search the prices for each commodity to come to this equilibrium in each zone. So each zone, the markets need to be clear, which means supply and demand should be equal for each commodity in each zone. So PECAS is searching the prices for each commodity at each zone to come to this equilibrium. So this curve actually is showing how the error actually decreases when we run with the iteration by each iteration.
所高音，就是这个模型，因为它因为要收敛，在这个收敛的过程当中呢，它考虑了一个是所有的这个 commodity 所有的商品，然后包括所有的这个区，然后所有的商品和所有的区都考虑进来，然后去算它这个到底是在哪个地方收敛。So this is error, right?
Yeah, this is error.
Error is decreasing after these are iterations.
它在算一个价格，能够
And
使
these are
它这个
iterations.
Yeah, this number.
Yeah, these are number of iterations, you know. As iterations are increasing and errors are decreasing, goes to zero,
you
right?
are calculating a price to reach the convergence.
Yes.
Yes.
就他们在算一个价格，然后算这个价格呢，可以使它是所有的商品，然后在所有的区当中能够达到一个均衡。So the result is the price to reach the convergence.
Yeah.
And this is error.
Yes.
Just making sure that the price is being precise.
Yes, it's price, you know, price meet. Otherwise, if the price or those are not meet, the model will not converge.
We change the prices
Yeah.
to minimize the error.
Yeah.
对，它就是在通过这个循环，然后就算出来这个价格，然后能够使这个模型收敛，然后它这个就是这个上面的应该就是它这个误差值，然后应该是算的这个次数越多，然后这个价格越准，然后最后能够使这个模型达到收敛。
Okay. Just for different years. To 19, then 22. Okay. You already see the model convergence, and it's only possible when you do those things called calibration. Because without calibration, you cannot, you know, you will never know that what happened, right? If the model forgot something, and you don't calibrate the model with the actual observed data, and how you will show that what the model produces is accurate. Okay. Okay. So this is really important that you calibrate your model. Each step, those are the basic steps you need to calibrate, like triplet calibration, where you calibrate the triplets, and another is option where you calibrate households, like different household produce different types of labels. So you need to make sure that what the percentage of labels produced by household in observed data is also produced by the PECAS. So you need to calibrate those things. So you want to see the model will generate as accurately as possible based on the base year observation. We have the base 2008 as a base year with the observed data, and we run the model, and we want our model to calibrate it with the observed base year data. So okay.
我这个模型做 calibration 的时候，一共就这么几个指标，第一个是 trip length，在出行距离的这个 calibration。然后第二个呢，它是就是权重，这个用的是家庭的权重。然后武汉的这个模型用的是08年的那个居民出行调查的数据，然后让这个模型能够做这个 calibration。
Okay, an important export calibration, like how much of import is happening coming to Wuhan from different cities, and how much of export is going from Wuhan to other cities, they should be calibrated as well, because
这个下面 import 和 export 就是那个武汉这个和其他区的进口和出口，这个数据也是可以拿到的。然后这个模型要去跟这个进口武汉这个城区或者城市进口和出口的这个数据，然后去做 calibrate。
Yeah, you see in AEF level that those imported exports are the part of what you produce and what you consume, right? So what you produce and what you bring into the zone, that is total, right? And this is import is I think
他说在刚才那个 table 里面也可以看到这个 import 和 output 值，然后他做这个 calibration 的时候，可以从那个 Excel 表里面看到这个 import 和 output。
Yeah. So another last thing is a floor space calibration. It means what type of floor space you have, like whether it's a residential floor space or agriculture. You want to make sure that the floor space should be calibrated with the base year.
就他说在做 calibration 的时候，要把这个建筑的这个层数也考虑在这个 calibration 当中，然后保证这个模型做的那个建筑的层数和真实的是一样的。
So these are things are really important if you want to have an accurate model. Otherwise, if you will never know what model is generating and what's actually happening. So you should calibrate the model so you will have the as possible as the accurate result from the model, because you just constrain the model, so the model will be able to generate as possible to close to the observed data.
所以说呢，它通过这几个calibration 的过程，可以让把这个模型校核的就比较准确，然后就是为了保证它的所有的这个观察值，就可能包括 household 和这个 import export 这些值都要满足条件。
Okay. Okay. So the triplet calibrations is what we do in a triplet calibration is adjusting a change dispersion parameter. And what we want is we have the observed triplets from travel survey data, right? We collect through surveys, what type of, the mode we use and what is the average triplet for different trip purposes. Like if they go for walk, what the average triplet they have.
他说这个出行距离是这个 triplets 是从那个居民出行调查里面算出来的，这个 triplets 包括不同种类啊，它这个 triplets 是多少，从那个出行调查里面计算出来的。
So like for different we have the observed triplet for different routes and different services and as well as for different levels. Like if you are going for a walk every day, what is the average triplet for those people who go for a walk? What is the average triplet for non-home based walk, or the people who go for shopping and entertainment and those stuff? We have the observed data and we want our model to have the same triplet for those different communities. So that's the triplet we are going to calibrate.
就是说，它算的这个包括 home base work、non-home base 的，包括有些商品的 triplets，都是从那调查数据里面算出来，算出来以后，然后用来做这个calibration。
So do we need to look into the Excel files or we just move how those different files are feeding into the triplet algorithm and how the triplets are happening?
I think we can show you the outputs.
Okay, let's see the outputs, and if you want to see those. Okay, you actually need two files to do the triplet calibration. First, you set.
他说在这做这个 triplets calibration 的时候需要两个文件。
Of course, we need other files too, but these are the two target files we are going to supply. So here is the community, like different. If you see here, we have the different level files, like technical levels, retail service levels, outdoor levels, operation levels. So whether they are buying or selling, we identify whether it's buying or selling, and we group them. Okay, if we group them by different types, like these are home-based work and different home-based work too, and we just categorize them because we want to see how their trip lengths are going to be.
就是第一个呢，就是他把这个就像交叉分类一样，把第一个这个表做了一个分类，然后包括有 labor， 还有它这个生产这个产品，然后有卖的有买的，然后包括他把这个出行的这个类 home base work 或 home base other 也分了各种类，然后用来做这个 calibration 不同的类。
So here is actually the observed target file, which specify what are the actual target trip length for different trip purposes. So here, this is sorry.
这个是那个就是用来去做 calibration 的target， 就是目标。做 calibration 的时候，包括分了多少类，你要把它你要把 calibration 的目标是多少，在这个第二个表里面。
Okay, this is average trip length, like 5 kilometer, and we tell the model, okay, you can start from here, just take it 100, but you can go minimum this much and maximum this much.
他说这个 target 比如是5公里的话，然后我们可以就是它这个 C 就是从开始的时候是先设100。然后在算的过程当中呢，最低不能低于1，最高不能超过140。然后它那个目标是5公里。
Okay. So let's go with the result and see what happens. Yeah, here are the results from the model. And if you see into this is for level and services, like home-based other and home-based work, those type of. So if you see here, these are the average length. These are called model or estimate average length, and these are the targets one. If you see here, most of the the estimated or model average trips are around matching. More than if you see 90%. If you even look at this home-based other, if you see 5 kilometers, 6.2 kilometers, their trip lengths are very close. And if for different even for home-based others, if you look into home-based shopping, university, and different types of home-based work, and because we have different types of labor, and there are other non-home-based works, and we have different categories we assign them. So if you see into the result, what you find here is that the model is generating as very accurately trip length because the optimization model is optimizing the trip length.
就这个表意思就是它最后那个 calibrate 以后和它那个 target 之间那个比较，它说这个模型这个结果是非常准的。然后这个深颜色呢就是模型算出来那个 trip length， 然后这个浅绿色呢就是它这个 target 的 trip length。和这个模型最后算完以后 calibrate 做完以后，可以看到这个对比就是那个结果是非常准确的。
One thing to add here, important thing, can we go to the semester diagram?
Can you go back?
Yeah. Go back to the nested project model. Go back to nested project model.
Okay, nested logic model.
So, the triplet calibration, we are actually calibrating the dispersion parameter here in the nested logic model, and we are trying to change this dispersion parameter because I explained earlier, this is where the commodity flow is happening. Because in this level, where the exchange is happening, where the commodities are flowing. For example, labor going to the exchange zones to sell the labor. So then there is a transportation cost, there is a trip distances going to happen in this level. So in the triplet calibration, what we do is actually changing this dispersion parameter for each commodity and try to match the distances, average distances for these commodity flows here. So did you get that?
Yeah, I will try. 说这个就有个叫 dispersion parameter， 这个 how I don't know how to say that in Chinese either. The dispersion parameter
It's like an error term in the utility function.
那个叫散度系，
散度系
就是那个
哦，就是他说在每个那个商品和那个就是这个选择小区的时候，它有一个散度系数，然后每一个商品都有不同的散度系数。然后因为这个地方选择的是我这个住的地方和我这个工作的地方，包括他在哪个地方去这个 exchange， 所以他那个做那个 trip length calibration 的时候，对这个地方它两个是有影响的，因为它会影响到它这个 trip length， 然后包括影响到它这个出行的这个距离，因为最后还要算这个scheme 里面那个 distance， 跟这个也有关系，这个都是相关的。
Yeah, I think Asif is going to explain next is the household calibration. And import-export calibration, which actually selecting the lifestyle, households selecting the lifestyles, industries selecting the technology they are going to use in their industries in this level. In the next calibration, technology option calibration, what we do is we are going to match the observed proportions in the region, Wuhan region, by changing the utility function constants in this level. Because this level also we have utility functions for this logic model, and we have a constant in this utility function for each this option. Okay, that you know utility function. Every logic model has a utility function for every node. So every node has a constant. So
every node has a different constant.
Yeah, different constant because every node has a utility function and have a different constant. So in this next calibration, we are calibrating this constant to match the observed amounts in the region. He will explain first. Explain.
他说在下一个那个 calibration 中，就是 calibration 这个选择的地点，他说每个地点都有一个不同的一个那个在那个项函数里面一个不同的那个常数项，然后就下一个 calibration 中，就 calibration 这个选择地点中那个常数那个项函数里面那个常数项的值，啊，就是在下一个 calibration 中。
Okay. Let's go to. Actually, we covered this one. Okay, let's see to the what we looked before are the labor and services, and these are by different goods. So if you see here, we just like to recreate two types of two types of calibration. One is separately for level end services like home-based work, home-based university, and non-based. Another we did is for different goods because those if you say agricultural product, industrial product, and transport products are brought to the city or buying or selling is usually happen based on the commercial vehicle, what type of vehicles you use, and those vehicles actually they make big trips, long trips because they are the commercial vehicles, right? So we need to calibrate them as well at different level. So if you see here,
OK，
there you go.
那第一个表呢，就是那个 calibrated 那个 commercial vehicle， 就是货车，因为货车那个距离那个 trip length 比较长，然后开始就把它分成了不同的种类，比如说这个 agriculture 是农业类，然后工业类，还有跟这个运输相关的这几种类型，然后去calibrate上面这个表格。
So here we observe target data we have for different types of commercial vehicles like big heavy vehicles or small medium vehicles or medium vehicle light or medium vehicle like two. We have different categories for the commercial vehicles and these are the target and trip lengths for those different types of commercial vehicles.
就第二个表格，就像刚才那个居民的出行那个表格一样，它是把这个货车分为几类，然后每类它这个 target 比如45公里、35公里，然后它这个初始值设的是50、34，然后最小值是1公里，最大值是100公里，然后去做这个 calibration。
Yeah, I don't need to explain. You already explained that part.
I understand Chinese, but let me translate.
Okay. So here are some results from this triplet calibration. For the heavy commercial vehicles, if you see here, the triplet is not too bad. It's really good. It's like the target is 45 kilometer and the model estimate is 60 kilometer. And if you see here, because you cannot have this very close, like if you have got the exact one is really not possible, but it's still very good calibration here.
这就是那个货车的它就是这个货物的calibration 这个表格，然后它这个也是分这个3类，然后结果它这个 target 和它目标之间的这个对比。
Okay. And you move forward. Okay, that's he explained before the household calibration, the lifestyle of household, right? So household technology option actually represents household lifestyle choices, like what type of floor space they want, where they want to live. Those type of lifestyles we used to call it as a technology option, where you specify, okay, this type of labor or this type of people, they want that type of space, right? So when they want to live in that type of floor space, this is called their lifestyle choices, where they want to live.
这个就是刚才说那个他在选择那个地点的时候，他在想这些人他在不同的这个 lifestyle 在哪个地方住。
So what we calculate is the proportions of each household in each option, right? How much of their household, percentage of proportions, and I will show you the next slide. And the table you will have, here. This is the file here. This is the target, and we have like, let's see, this is urban household, right? Urban household the urban house may produce the main technical level that is 32%. If you look into this one, urban household and rural household, they are producing different percent of different labors. This is the percentage of labor produced by different households. And you have a point. Example.
I didn't quite. Why the target is percentage?
This is for example, if you have 1 million households, if you have 1 million urban households in Wuhan, urban household is a household type. So 32% of that households are producing the management technical labor. 13.5% of the urban households producing L02 retail services labor.
Those are coming from a survey.
Yes, target. We observe data. If you see this, if you add this rural aid, this is the 100%, right? And this is the 100%. You just split them by what type of labor they are producing.
也就是说，他在那个居民数调查里，把它这个分类就分成这个城市和农村， 然后城市里面呢，它分成，比如说我是这个白领，或者我是这个服务业人员，或者我是工人。然后它每一类呢，在它这个居民收入调查里面占的比例是多少，是它这个 target。然后它用这个模型去这个做这个 calibration， 去 match 它这个 target。
So they don't have any question or anything? Because I didn't hear any question and any queries, alright? Maybe they understand everything. Okay, let's see here the calibration results for different types labels here, and if you see, if the graphs will give you a very good picture, you see that whatever here, the percentage, it's very, if you look into this one, yeah, the target, the estimated amount is matching 100%, not 100%, very close to the target amount here for different, or even for rural households and even urban households, for all types of flavors they produce.
Well, all the targets are matching so good.
It's, of course, the model, we have, optimization algorithm is running behind the model to optimize.
比如说这种household percentage， 它是有一个算法，所以这个 target 和它那个模型那个 estimate 这个是 match 的比较好，这个基本上没有什么误差。
Can you explain a little bit about the optimization algorithm which is used to optimize these?
Because it generates output files. PECAS generates the amount of technology options for each activity in each zone. So, for example, if you have 100 households, PECAS calculates how many households produce the L01 data.
就是 PECAS 呢，就是它在每个 zone 里面，它每一类的这个 labor， 它每一类的这个种类，不管是 labor， 这还是 industrial labor， 还是这个白领蓝领啊，它是每个 zone 里面，就是它都生成一个对应的值。
That PECAS doing this by calculate this by changing the prices, which I explained earlier. We change the prices in zone and level, and with respect to that price, we can calculate these amounts.
就是这个值，就是通过刚才说那个它那个供给和需求那个价格，然后来算出来这个值。
So what we do is in the calibration, we add all these amounts in all the zones in Wuhan, and we are going to check with the target values, because then you can find out what is the error based on what is the model is producing and what is the target value. So based on the error, we are changing the constants in the utility function using the secant method, which we use. It's like Newton algorithm to minimize the error which we have in the model and the observed data, and we are changing the constant in the utility function to match these targets.
也是在那个选那个区的时候，然后它也是在选那个项函数里面那个常数项，然后通过选那个常数项，然后最后它这个通过小区里生成的这个数量，然后算出来这个比例去 match 它原来它那个目标的那个比例。
That's why I explained the nested logic model in these utility functions. We have a constant for each technology option. So we change that constant, and we are trying to match these targets.
他就刚才说，为什么在那个选择这里面，要说每一个zone， 它的每个小区它都有自己一个单独的像函数里面那个常数项，就在这个地方用的。
Okay, let's move to. Okay, you want to ask?
Yeah, I want to ask a question on your previous slide concerning the treatment. Why do you have to calibrate the treatment?
Good question. Actually, if you don't calibrate, how you will make sure that the produced model, suppose if model says this, even labors are making 100 kilometers every day, but actually they are making only 5 kilometers. So you have to calibrate to make sure that model don't overestimate or underestimate. That's the reason we are trying to calibrate the model. So we don't want a model to overestimate or underestimate.
I don't know whether there is any observed data concerning the treatment. is there any percentage of increments as observed in previous years, and compared to what the model is also predicting, is it within the same percentage increase?
What do you mean the percentage increase?
What I mean is that for instance, you said the base distance for the model was 5 miles or
5 kilometers, yeah.
kilometers. Now, that 5 kilometers is perceived to be the standard trip length as maybe you observed. Maybe the previous years, maybe the trip length wasn't up to 5, maybe it was maybe 4 or 3. Now, the model, okay, in your model, maybe the model also predicted that there is an increase of trip length, maybe 6 or 7. So in that case, my question is that, is there any observed trend of incremental values of trip length, and did you compare it with what the model is predicting, whether it falls within the same range? I just want to know if there's anything like that.
The targets are normally coming from the sensor series. So your model inputs also from the sensor series, and you are calibrating also for the sensor series. So average trip lengths actually depend on the whatever the inputs you are giving to the model, which is actually the sensor series. So you are right. So maybe if the population increase and if the households distributed to the different zones in the future or in past, maybe you are in a, maybe in Wuhan, in the past, people maybe only live in 2 or 3 zones. Now it's expanded. So maybe now the trip length is high compared to the past, right? So everything is depend on the whatever the model inputs are. So if you need to check 2016 trip lengths, you can run the model in 2016 and check is actually model is giving you the whatever the observed trip lengths or not. If it's not giving you that target trip length, you need to do some calibration again and do some changes to the model.
Yeah, that's the reason actually model is calibrated on different years, not just on 1 year, after 5 years, maybe 10 years, they recalibrate it because they want to make sure that the trend under our estimate. So you have cross-sectional years where you just calibrate your model. You are not just calibrating 1 year and just let things go. You are actually putting checks on different after 5 years to make sure that our underestimate. It's not just only one base year. You have certain checks on certain cross-sectional years to do that.
It's too long to translate. Too many concepts.
Okay. So another thing is import and export calibration, like how much of import is coming to the city and how much of export is happening to going out of the city. So we want to make sure that we want to calibrate those things too, because whatever you produce or consume has effect on how much of you are importing or how much of you are exporting, right?
这就刚才说那个 import 和 export， 还有跟这个武汉市的这个进口和出口那个总的量，然后包括那个货物啊什么去做那个calibration。
Yeah. So.
And the one thing to add is the imports and exports are very important to system to come to equilibrium, because if you have excess supply or excess demand, if you have excess demand means you need to import. If you have excess supply means you need to export that stuff to maybe US, or because if China produce lots of garments, t-shirts or trousers, if you have an excess amount, so you need to export it to the external zones. And if you don't have enough beef or pork in China, you need to import it. Then you have equilibrium level in the system.
The zones are external zones, right?
External zones, imports and export activities happen in the external zones, and they are coming to the internal zones to do the exchange.
而这个 import 和 export 就是一般来说必须要这个达到均衡，因为比如像武汉这样，它可能或者是如果它是出口的话，比如它出口的是这个农业产品或者什么之类的，它就必须在那个外边那个 external zone 里面，然后加上同样量的这个 import。就比如说，如果要是比如中国因为出口，比如出口制造业，然后进口的这个原材料，那如果中国是一个洞的话，那我就必须有其他的 external zone 和它有相等的这个 import 和 export， 保证这个模型的这个均衡。说这个模型的均衡非常重要 ，import 和 export。Good question.
那种均衡是，比如说是那个经济数字的那个均衡，还是说准备的均衡？是怎么来的均衡？是最后折算成钱的均衡。
The equilibrium is a kind of a money equilibrium or goods equilibrium. Is categorized or not?
We can the model Wuhan model is in money now. It's in RMB, but we can convert the model to the if you want tons or any of the units.
比如现在武汉这个模型是那个钱，是钱，就是 import export 多少钱，然后它如果需要的话，可以把它转成那个货物的那个吨，也可以推转。
Yeah, if you see that AF level, everything was in money, in RMB. Those produce, consume, labors, their compensation, everything was in RMB. So everything dealing in here is RMB close to freight. So
But you can convert.
yeah, you can move to the other one, but what in Wuhan model is everything is in RMB.
所以就是武汉模型里面所有的这个单位都是钱，就不管是 import、export 还是其他的种类 ，Excel 里面的所有的单位都是钱，都是人民币。
Money is a good way to trade things, right? Okay, these are some files, input files which represent, different those how much of the urban household they produce agriculture product. U means M is make and U means use. They use those how much of the agricultural products product are used by the urban household and how much they produce by the urban household, and this is the amount in RMB. So
what does the M mean? The M. What does the M mean? The U
okay.
is use.
Make, this is means make,
Oh.
and this is means use, like produce and consume.
就 M 就是那个生产 ，U 就是那个消耗，然后它把它分成不同的种类，然后包括这个有这个城市有农村不同的种类，然后包括他们生产和消耗的这个产品，然后最后这个值呢，它单位全部都是那个人民币。
So this is if you see those values with them shows the negative, they are all these are all consumed. Those are you can say these are used.
Okay, so all the U's are negative and.
Yeah, we just want to identify. Of course, those values because they are consumed, right? So consume means you utilize it, right? So that's why it's in negative, right? When you utilize things, it's negative, right? So we just identify whether they are consumed or they are being used or they are being produced.
这个消耗的全部都是负数，然后这个生产都是正数，然后最后算这个均衡。
Or another word you can say this much of money is being produced or come and this much of money is being utilized. Because they are in money is RMB.
因为这些都是钱，所以就是生产和消费是一个均衡，有正有负的。
Okay, you want to wait for? No, it's okay. Good. Okay, this is different labors. How much of it you already see those now. Also know those are more specific to because each household they different produce or different types of labor, right? If you go here, each activity, right? Each activity has if you go into the education and research activities, they use this much of the outdoor labor. And go to other institute or go to the agriculture operation, you will see okay they use this much of outdoor labor, this much of they use here. Actually, this table show different types of activities, and this show those activities those activities consume this type of labors here, and this table show how much of those are used by those labors by different types of activities here, and this is all R&D here.
所以这个是一个消耗的一个表，然后第一列呢就是它把它分成不同的这个活动类型，比如第一个是那个 education 和 research 教育和研究，然后它呢消耗了多少这个 outdoor labor， 就是它消耗了多少这个在户外工作的人，可以理解为比如说这个武汉理工大学使用了多少这个工人去做这个维修啊，或者一些草坪啊，或者什么这些工作，然后前面这是它消耗的值，然后第一列这个 activity 呢就是类。然后第二列呢，是我这一类消耗了多少这种类型的这个劳动力，然后最后边这一列呢，就是我这个消耗的这个劳动力转化成钱以后的这个值。
Okay. Let's see some calibration results here. So this, if you see into the target and model, the import and export results, calibration results show very good calibration results here for targets, and these are the targets and these are the model, because if you see these are all max here, this is the mac, and these are being used by different activities here.
这个就是它那个进口和出口那个 calibration 的表，然后那个左边那个呢是那个出口，所以它那个上面都是负数，然后这边是进口的。所以上面都是正数，然后那个浅绿色的就是它那个模型的值，然后深绿色的是它要去那个 target 的值，就是它要去match 的那个值。
So these values are in millions, okay?
哦，它这个表的那个单位是100万人民币。
Okay. So lastly, we are going to look at floor space calibration. Okay, just to the floor space. There are two ways to look at the floor space calibration. Is to look at the floor space quantities, how much of the floor space in square meter, and another thing is to look at.
第一个那个是调整那个 per
square meter.
OK square meter， 就是每 square meter。
Square meter, right?
What is the unit of the floor quantities?
Square meter. Yeah, square meter.
And in a zone or in a district.
So we are looking at zonal level, not a district level.
OK. 他说这个是每一个小区里边，然后它的这个建筑的这个建筑面积，然后单位是那个平方米，然后它要满足就是每一个小区里边的这个建筑的这个平方米和它那个统计出来的那个要达到一致。
So we have one is like quantity, how much of the quantity by different floor space, and we have the price of those, how much per square meter the price of each of these floor space types.
Sorry, I have one question. The floor space quantities is
the floor space is quantity.
It's not the number of floors. It's not the number of floors of the building. It's a kind of square meters of how many.
It's not the number of floors. It's a total space quantity available in a zone by type for residential, commercial,
For
office space.
different types of floor space. Yeah.
他说这个小区里面呢，就是有点类似于那规划里面的，就是我有多少这个住宅用地，有多少商业用地，然后我要通过这个统计的或者规划的数据，知道我有多少住宅用地，多少商业用地，然后去 match 这个值，这个 floor space quantity。
So it's limitation of the data, but you cannot calibrate at the same time like by quantity and by price. So what available you can use by whether you can calibrate by quantity if you have the quantity data, like how much of square meter available in observed data, then you can just calibrate with the model, right? If you don't have accurate or exact, then you can use the pricing. If you have the pricing, because there are various data out there of different ways, you can collect the prices. Okay, this is the area, this area, the square meter price is this much, right? So you can use.
Okay, you have one number for the zone, like how much money per square meter in this zone to capture this number.
Yeah, different types of different type of floor space, whether it's a
So
residential space, industrial space, agricultural space. We have 8 spaces types. Yeah.
他说这个如果要是你拿不到这个一个小区里的这个建筑面积，或者是这个工业用地建筑面积、学校建筑面积的话，你可以用钱来作为那个指标。就是我知道我这个小区里面，比如说我这个房，这个小区里面，我这个房子卖多少钱一平米的话，多少钱一平米这个价格也可以作为它这个做calculation的一个目标值。
OK。
然后它分了8个种类，可能只有那个商业的是有商业住宅的可能是有价格的，可能学校啊什么不一定有价格。就是它这个值这个钱这个每平米多少钱也可以作为它的目标值。
Actually, this is the step. We calibrate the model to identify what are the attractive areas for the industries and the households. Because if there is a high price for the residential space, that means there is a high demand for that zone in the region. So when we do this floor space calibration, we actually adjust the model to identify, to find out where the attractive and less attractive places. So,
就是说这个 floor space quantity 也可以表明这个区的它这个吸引力的大小。一般来说的话，如果它这个区的它这个每平米的面积比较高的话，就说明这个小区在它整个这个土地模型里面，它这个吸引这个权值也是比较大的。
When you see the first slide, like PECAS framework, the signal prices come from the A to go to the SD. Those prices, in the first, I showed the first frame picture and
From the activity location to
the first, yeah, I show you this is the prices are going, and if the prices are high, it shows that the place is very attractive. It attractive developers to come and develop this space because you know the price high means you have the more profit to get there. So it gives a signal to developers, okay, you can come here and develop this place.
他说就是在那个第一页那个 PPT 第一页里面有一个那个 activity location 那个 model， 就在这个地方。Can you go back to the first slide?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it would be better if you look at that one, right?
刚说的这个就是这个
price
activity location 里面算出来刚才那个价值，然后这个钱呢就进到这个 space development 里边，然后就是刚才说那个它这个每平米这个价格就可以作为一个这个模型的输出，然后这个模型的输入，然后导入这个模型里面以后，就是如果要是用在比如说开发商啊，或者看每个地块，然后它那个每个面积大概卖多少钱，然后作为一个这个提供给开发商决策的一个因素。
Okay. So it's a good way to attract different types of people or different types of activities to come to the. Yeah. So, yeah. I already told you because you can calibrate whether it prices or by quantity. If you want to, this is the exchange result target file which contains, if you look into the commodity type, what type of the space it is, like residential space or office space, commercial space, agriculture space, and what is the zone number here, and what is the target price per square meter, what is the target price per square meter, and based on this type of the commodity, and the tolerance is specified how can up and down, it's 25% or 30% tolerance. Yeah. So you set the tolerance, okay, you can go up and or down to this much tolerance here. So this is the input file, you specify different types of quantity, okay, the zone number, this is the target price, and this is the tolerance for the target prices here.
这就是刚才他说的那个，他说那个 A 模型那个输出作为 SD 模型的输入这个前数，就是他说这个 zone， 比如在第一个 zone、第二个 zone、第三个 zone、第四个 zone 里面，它每一种不同类型的这个，比如说工业用地，然后农业用地或者教育研究用地，然后他们的这个目标的这个 target 目标的这个价格是多少？然后这个 tolerance 呢，就是大概有20%到30%的一个容许的区间，就是比如说如果说我是1000的话。比如第三行，如果是我1036，比如说每平米，然后我的这个允许的区间就是259，就大概我可以高于或者低于这1036这么多，然后可以作为它这个容许的区间，然后再做这个 calibration 的时候。
Okay, we are good to go. So another thing, okay, yeah. Another thing you can do is the floor space target. Here, before you see what was here is the price, right? What here is the floor space in quantity, square meters here. So you can whether you calibrate at this floor space target or whether you can calibrate at the price. So you can calibrate at both when you have the data for both.
这个就是刚才说的那个面积，就是我在一个区里边，然后我的某一种用地，然后它有多少面积，这个 target 是 floor space，然后这个是它的那个容许那个值，就是做这个 calibration 的时候，你可以这个 calibrate 这个 floor space， 也可以去 calibrate 刚才那个钱数，也如果你数据足够的话，给两个 calibration 都做。
Okay. So this is our residential space, the calibration result. This is the target price in this way, and this is the model price. And if you see, the R square is 0.9. It's a very good, calibration result.
这个是那个就是居住用地，然后他做那个 calibration 的结果，然后底下这个是模型的值，然后那个这个目标是那个目标值，然后那个 R 方是零点9。
Okay, different types of space, different types of office space, and here industrial space. If you have see very good R square results, and what we understand from those results are that we are reaching the targets. We are making sure that the model is estimating or giving us case possible accurate result based on the observed data we supply to the model to do.
就是说刚那几个有那个农业的，有 office 的，就是为了保证它这个模型所有的种类，这个 calibration 做这个校核的值都非常准，然后最后这个模型就比较准。
Last thing you want to
There are questions.
Yeah, that's all fun. So if you have any question, please.
When you calibrate the floor space or the price, why do you set the tolerance? Why do you set tolerance in calibration of floor space?
That's because, for example, if you take a zone, let's say this region, you don't have a fixed price for the space. For example, residential space, maybe each building have a different price. So that means you have a variation for the price, but you have an average price. So, but from the average, there is a variation in the region, in the zone, the price variation. So that's why we need to put that variation bar in the calibration, because model try to come to the average, but we are allowing model to come to this 95% or 90%, inside the 90% confidence interval, the price. So that we need the variation, because you cannot match a fixed price, because there is all the zones have variant. There's a price variation for the space. Each commodity has a price variation. And you don't have a fixed price for industrial space or residential space. Prices vary location to location, even inside the zone. So that's why we have the variation.
它那个进口和出口一定要平衡嘛，因为贸易顺差逆差不是很正常的一个存在嘛，对于一个城市或一个国家来说。
What he said is, do you have to do the equilibrium for import and export, because it's a kind of a surplus is regular for a city or for a country.
Yes. So because the surplus we need to export. So if you are going to keep the surplus, you can tell the model we are going to keep that surplus, but in most of the regions, if you have a surplus, what we do is we can export it, or we can give it as a donation. We need to get rid of that stuff, because otherwise nobody is using the excess stuff, right? So the equilibrium is, if you don't use that excess stuff, you need to tell the model, you need to create the activity actually, which is maybe called excess. and excess activity is going to use that excess stuff, but it's an excess. But most of the regions, if you have excess, something you would do is export.
Do you need an external zone to attract the access?
Yes.
You have to put the external zone in the
Yes,
model.
in the model. We
Yeah.
have the external zones here.
Yeah.
We have the external zones in the model. We need to have the external zones.
Okay, let me repeat again, just making sure everything is correct. So, in the like for the Wuhan model, we can have an extra